Short and sweet is the name of the game in this week's episode of Violet Evergarden. Violet Evergarden continues to be one of the most beautiful anime experiences that I have ever seen. No doubt this series has some of the best character design that I've ever seen. The lighting is absolutely phenomenal. The backdrops, even the side characters themselves. This is an anime series which totally lives up to the title of an anime. It completely takes advantage of the medium, even going as far as to telling its story strictly through its visuals. However, this was another episode very similar to the last, where we get to see sort of a formula building in the Violet Evergarden anime series, where she's going to encounter a stranger, have an interaction with them, and by the end of the episode, not only does she help them out, but they end up bringing out more of Violet's real emotions and personality. This is an episode that also has an ending which I have to admit, while somewhat manipulative and not very subtle, actually managed to draw some tears from my eyes. It was a truly beautiful moment. So let's talk about the rest of this episode right here. And what I think is most surprising is that Violet Evergarden is an anime series which I believe is based on a manga or a light novel. And from what I've heard from fans of the series is that the first couple episodes of the series, in particular the last two including this one, have basically been anime original content. But if that's the case, this is some really engrossing and beautiful work here. I especially love how they always manage to introduce a new character in every episode, and immediately you start to get attached to them. And that's what happens in this one right here, where Violet decides to go to this school for auto memory dolls to learn how to type and to learn about the true meaning of what it means to convey someone's emotions onto paper. Of course, this is a really big uphill battle for her, and it leads to a lot of not super funny scenes, but awkward moments of her acting like her military self, saluting in class, and basically coming across as a very cold and robotic person. That and the fact that the costume that she's wearing, compared to the other students in the class, she totally just looks like someone who got lost at an anime convention. She's definitely cosplaying. They say that it makes her look like a doll. I don't know, she looks like a character out of Fate Stay Night. Maybe it's her extreme resemblance to Saber, but that's the feeling that I actually get from it. But when we get to see her interacting with the other students of this school, which is run by this very hardcore teacher who is actually very tender-hearted at the very end of the day, you get to see that all of these characters have fantastic designs. It goes back to what I was saying about the series having really great character design. A lot of the times in other anime series, the background characters, they just blend in and there's nothing special about them at all. There are a ton of characters in this episode who don't even have any dialogue whatsoever, but they all have such distinctive character designs. From the facial features, the hair, the clothes they're wearing, you can even kind of tell what their ethnic origins are simply just by looking at them. And they all look like wonderfully interesting characters who could have a big impact on Violet. It just so happens that character is this redheaded girl by the name of Luculia in this episode. She herself is trying to learn how to be an auto memory doll, and both her and Violet work together throughout the episode to draw out each other's emotions in different ways. With Violet, it's what you would expect. It gets to a point where she finally is able to write a letter and convey someone's emotions. And that scene is really great. I especially love how at the very end of the episode, when it is revealed what she wrote, it's the shortest letter that we've heard in the series. It's basically her writing a letter to Luculia's brother telling him, "I'm glad that you're safe home from the war, and I'm very happy because of that. I'm glad you're alive." That's it. There's not that much more to it, but for her to actually finally do that is fantastic and overcoming all of the odds, especially after all of the other students are basically able to graduate from this place, but she can't. She's one hell of a typist, but she just cannot convey those emotions. I'm surprised there was only one test for this entire thing. I was kind of hoping maybe she'd get another opportunity, and that really did come. But that's Violet's story in this episode, and in a nutshell, it's pretty great. It's just showing that little by little, she's starting to understand the complexities of human emotion. But Luculia is where things get really interesting about this episode, is really it is her story. She is this young, timid girl who happens to live in this city, and the only family that she has is her brother. Her brother actually fought in the war and somehow got hurt, but he returned home, but in the process he became very embittered, mostly because his parents were actually killed during this conflict, something that Luculia does not even tell Violet about at all. But basically throughout the episode, she goes about her problem where she wants to basically have a nice family relationship with her brother, but she can't do it anymore because he's so angry all the time. He's a drunkard. He goes about town causing problems and getting into fights with people. Basically, he's drinking the pain away, and she has no way to even talk to him. And they show this in so many great ways in this episode, like when they show him at her home. I love this view where you get to see a top-down perspective of the entire room, which is completely messy. There's bottles all over the place. Everything's strewn about. It really conveys what his character is in that moment and what it is Luculia is actually going through. And throughout the episode, we get to see that she wants to say something to her brother, but she simply just cannot bring herself to do it. And that's when Violet decides to challenge herself to actually write her letter, but she makes it so short and sweet. She delivers it to him at the end of the episode when he's just drunk and beat up in the middle of the streets. And when you see him read that letter for the first time and start to cry, man, that moment hit here. That was the part of the episode that I was like, wow, this is a really special story. And to get that type of emotion out of something so simple as that, I think that's a really big accomplishment. It also helps that the show is freaking gorgeous. So yeah, the episode ends with Violet not only making a new friend and even helping out their family situation, but also learning a little bit more about what it means to have emotion. So, what's the rundown on this episode of Violet Evergarden? Really, I could just talk about the art style of this show for the entire review. I mean, there's so many great, like, setups and backgrounds in this entire series. Like, the transitions, to me, are just as fun to watch as the actual character interactions because nearly every single frame looks amazing. Speaking of which, we finally get our intro for the show, which is quite gorgeous, as you would probably expect. The song itself, I have to hear it a couple more times before it's going to start to sink in, although I have a feeling it probably will. It's only a matter of time before I hear it enough times and I'm like, yep, that's the Violet Evergarden theme. But it really does sort of capture all of the amazing feelings of the show thus far, as well as building up some more of that mystery, getting to learn a little bit more about Violet's relationship with Gilbert, but they don't give away too much, and that's not really the main focus of this episode either. Like I said, this one's really all about the character of Luculia, who, you know, she's not the most interesting character in the world because, honestly, I couldn't tell you that much about her outside of the things that are going on in her family. Basically, she's a tool in order for Violet to actually learn something. Whether she comes back and becomes a recurring character is unknown, but I'd like to see her return, if only for just to see some more interactions between her and Violet, which, little by little, you can tell that she's starting to get it. It's conveyed in her emotions, in the way that she reacts to things. Like that moment where Violet says that she wants to write a letter for Luculia and she runs away. They just show her lower lip quivering, and I'm just thinking to myself, and I even said out loud, I'm like, she's going to write that letter right now. And that's exactly what she did. I just didn't expect that it would be so simple. But man, it worked. Other than that, like I said, the art style of this episode. There was a scene where they go up in this tower. Luculia decides to take Violet there, and we get to see, like, the sunset, and it is just gorgeous. Frame it in a freaking poster format and put it up in your room. It looks great. I also love that the scene was also getting a little bit of emotion out of Violet as well, as she recalled up time when she was with Gilbert at the edge of a river, and she saw this sunset, and it was a great moment. It just worked. Simple as that. Really, I'm almost unqualified to review this anime series. It's that good. But it's really great from what I'm seeing thus far, and I'm glad that I'm going into it blind, so I have no preconceived conceptions of like what this could have been, because like I said, a lot of people have told me that this is, you know, some anime original content, but this is some really strong stuff here. There's even little funny, subtle moments, like you have Catalia and Benedict back at the post office, and they just get into fights randomly for absolutely no reason. They just jump at each other's throats for the stupidest things, and it's just little moments like that are really fun. I can't wait to see a little bit more of those guys, too. I want them to delve into them a little bit more, especially because I was expecting Iris to get a little more screen time after we got to spend some time with Erica, I believe is her name. But still, this episode right here was just gorgeous and awesome. The ending of it was great, and it actually caused a couple of tears to come out of my big bald head. So, good episode right here. Beautifully done. Fantastic. I'm giving this one a 5 out of 5. You guys should check it out. This is some strong anime content. It's not like a big action show or anything. That's not what it's trying to be. It's just trying to tell a really good story, and it's doing a great job with its characters. So check it out. There it is. Beautiful show. I'd love to hear your thoughts about this series. If you guys are watching it, if you watch this episode, tell me what you guys thought about it in the comments section below. Thank you guys for watching this review. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, stay down, baby.